So what is torrefied or roasted maple? If you're not already familiar with it, let me explain. Torrefication, roasting, baking, any of these terms that are used for describing these woods describes the process of torrefication, which is where you take a piece of plain maple. We also do this with our pine, but you take a plain maple piece of wood and you bake it in a large specialty oven that is designed for roasting woods. We actually had to make our own because there's not a company that actually does this. But the process is essentially an extra step of drying your tone woods or your hardwoods. Air drying will get the water that's not trapped within the cell walls out of the wood. And that's what a lot of people will do. It takes a long time and it's a very slow, tedious process. So then people will use kiln dried woods, which actually dry the wood even further than air drying. And kiln drying will help get the water that's trapped within the cell wall out of the wood. That's a really great process because it's much faster, it's much more thorough, and it's much more stable. So you definitely want kiln dried woods in your guitar build. Torrefied woods take kiln dried hardwoods and go a step further. So we force the water out of the cell and then we continue to bake the wood at a high temperature in order to collapse the cell wall so that it cannot take the moisture back. So what happens, the result is you force all of the resin and moisture out of the wood and you collapse those cell walls so it can't take that moisture back. You will get a nice caramel color to the wood. These are both maple necks from the same batch of maple that we brought in a few months ago. This is obviously roasted, this is obviously not. This neck will have a little more sustain, a little more resonance because it doesn't have any of the sap or resin or moisture left in it that kiln drying will even leave behind. Kiln drying typically gets you down to about 6% moisture content. Torrefication, you get it all the way down to 0 before adding a little bit back for stability. But this doesn't take moisture back on. It's much more stable, it's resistant to weather. It's also bug resistant, which is more important in building construction than guitars, unless you live in a really heavily termite infested area. But that is the biggest difference between roasted woods and non-roasted woods. It's drier, it's more stable, and it's much more resonant.